Now, this is the perfect segue because I don't know your position on this. I think I can anticipate where you're going to go, but for however you feel about Wood and everything else, what's going on with what state is it in now where the judge issued an order to show cause as to why he should continue acting in the Carter Page lawsuit? I forget what state it is. Is it DC?
Delaware.
Delaware, sorry. So for those of you who don't know, switching topics, switching gear, but it's a good segue. The judge in the Carter Page defamation lawsuit in Delaware just issued an order to show cause. I didn't exactly know what that was in Quebec, Canada. Order to show cause is typically for contempt. But apparently this judge issued an order. Okay, so he ordered to show cause why Lin Wood should not be have his pro hoc vice authorization withdrawn from this case. That is the permission to practice in a state where he's not certified for the Carter Page suit, because of what he's done in these other lawsuits in these other states, citing, affidavit issues, not disclosing or accidentally filing not under seal evidence that was supposed to be filed under seal, using all this as a basis to try to get him booted from the file where he's got court permission to exercise. I don't know your position on this. If I missed any important detail, let me know. But I'm predicting that regardless of how you feel about Lin Wood, I don't think you're going to be particularly supportive of this type of action by the judge, and it looks potentially political retribution or exploiting of the situation that has been created to leverage it to hammer Lin, where otherwise no one else would get hammered for such conduct.
Yeah, so I think it's a couple of things with it. One is this is the other evidence that this was a trap. They got one expert they keep citing who did the Michigan audit, who got caught, falsifying evidence by getting precincts confused between Michigan and Minnesota, by getting the digits wrong. So 51% turnout becomes 151% turnout. I mean, basic mistakes. You don't call yourself a technical expert, make those kind of mistakes. But that wasn't all. Then they got caught with a second super secret expert who turned out to be, an ex-mechanic who didn't have the cybersecurity background they claimed. A third one now has been exposed as being someone who's, has had fraud accusations against them and has had other accusations. It doesn't appear to have the cybersecurity background they claimed. So, I mean, again, it's the sign of a disinformation campaign to plant these kind of sources. And because they weren't properly vetted, they led them down this path. And then they made a bunch of procedural errors in some of these cases. And then there were spelling errors, technical errors, and courts were always going to use those as an excuse to come after you as a lawyer. That's why, especially if you represent outsiders or underdogs or a disfavored cause, then you have to always be, you have to be 110% perfect. That's just the way of the world. And that's why this was careless and reckless. But it's because they haven't really done this systematically. It's one thing to defend Flynn in criminal court, in some criminal cases. It's another thing to really be in the weeds of these kind of wars every day, or to be doing some defamation cases where you're on the popular side of the equation. So neither Wood nor Powell has really been through a lot of true trial lawyer wars of being an underdog in the case. And so they got set up, and they got set up effectively. So now I think without question, to give a shout out to Rakita Media, what is his YouTube?
Nick Recchietta is his channel. Does great stuff.
That's it. Yeah. He has a lot of, he has some interesting followers.
I should spell it. Recchietta is Rekieta.
Yep. He's another testament to smarter lawyers being those people who come at the law from working a real job rather than how many, he did a good interview with Eric Hunley of the Unstructured podcast, who we also recommend always, because he does fascinating interviews with intriguing people. But he made a good point about how if you come at law from, and some people have been asking this question on the locals board, I always encourage a law degree because it can't really hurt you. It can cost a little bit of money, but these days there's online programs that are really affordable. It always gives you more economic options in life, and the more ordinary people that have law degrees, the better. Because we have a bunch of schmucks with law degrees today. Just look at our federal judges. But whatever judge I'm in front of next is an exception, of course. Getting to the pro hoc vice, it's the judge probably is making a mistake here. Clearly politically motivated. Rakita did a good analysis that's clearly politically motivated, whatever mistakes Wood may have made. In that one, the judge is clearly like trolling or following other cases that have nothing to do with his case. Nothing to do with the state of Delaware. So why is he paying attention to that? Really, that should be a warning to Carter Page. he needs to get rid of that judge by some means, because he's got a problematic judge who's that political that he's tracking whatever case Wood's doing.
I just want everyone to actually focus and just pay attention to that observation that you just made, which is not one that anyone has made that I've heard of yet, but it's the most astute observation. Is this is how you detect you're in a bad situation where, as much as people don't like settling fight on principle, it's as good an indication that you have a judge who's going to go out fishing for stuff to hold against you, as opposed to wait for it to be presented to him. But sorry, go on. Great point.
So the second mistake the court's probably made, judges make this mistake a lot. They think that motion to pro hoc vice is always within their discretion. So it's the Latin for to appear this one time. And if you are a lawyer not licensed in that jurisdiction, you have to ask for permission to appear. Now, I personally think we should have, I'm not even in favor of bars, Supreme Court's controlling your law licensure. I'm not in favor of licensure, period. I think anybody should be a practicing lawyer, and you just have to have truth in advertising as to what your experience is. I agree with Andrew Jackson. So I strongly disagree with Dershowitz on. If we have him on down the road, that's a debate topic.
It's in the works.
Way too much. God bless him. Brilliant lawyer. Still trust the professional class too much. But but in order to appear in Delaware, you have to ask permission of the court. And when you first ask permission, the court has broad discretion to deny it. So on almost any grounds, even in criminal cases sometimes, which there should be a Sixth Amendment right to counsel, but they've interpreted that as not to meaningfully apply to pro hoc vice applications. So sometimes they moderate that, but not often. So, but here's the problem. Once a court grants a motion to appear pro hoc vice, you as a lawyer now have a due process right in staying in the court process, and the court can only remove you for misconduct that can happen while you're in front of that court. Now, I'm aware of this because I have opposing counsel come after me all the time. I appear motion to appear pro hoc vice all over the country. I think I've appeared in almost every state court, every federal court in the country by this point, or pretty close to it. But I will run into lawyers who don't want me to be on the opposite side, and they'll fight tooth and nail to keep me out. And then once I'm admitted, there's some, like the Sandy Hook case by representing Alex Jones, they kept begging to kick me out every 5 seconds. And it was based on my speech. They wanted to use the fact that I had been admitted into court as grounds to control what I could say about the case publicly. Now, their attempts to deny me and strip me were denied because they have to prove that I violated a professional rule of professional conduct in that state when I did it, because I have a due process right. I would almost guarantee the Delaware judge doesn't know this because I've run into judges who are like, oh, I thought I had total discretion. Nope, not once you sign that slip, that game changed. So he probably doesn't know that, the Delaware judge. Now here's the sequence of issues that's going to be a problem for Wood and Powell. Is these litigants are now the Michigan Attorney General seeking sanctions against them. Other places are going to start seeking sanctions. They're going to use the defamation suits. They're going to use this is why I say it was a trap. They were using it to build up to where they could disqualify 2 lawyers they saw as a thorn in their side. Now, I personally have not been a big fan of Lin Wood, but clearly people that saw him as a political adversary of some skill. And clearly the case they saw that with Sidney Powell because of her success representing General Flint. So they've now put themselves in a position. You go through the history. Every dissident lawyer has been challenged at one time or another, almost all of them without fail. Clarence Darrow, I think he faced 2 criminal trials, maybe 3. I mean, if you're good at what you do and you fight the system will target you and the system will harass you. What annoys me is that they walked into this so easily in what they did here. So I think Wood should win the order to show cause. I hope he picks some other counsel. That's not necessarily his area of expertise. Let's put it that way. And he should have someone else advocate for him. Someone that knows constitutional law, someone like a Dershowitz type that can come in that's from the opposite political side that can say, hey, no, someone the Delaware judge will respect, probably a Democrat. These Delaware people are going to be feeling high. It's not. Remember that it's Delaware. And where's Joe Biden from? Where did he build his political machine from? So maybe that's why this Delaware judge is paying special attention. If I would look into everything, see whether there's a political angle here that could be pursued. Well, but I'd be most concerned that I have a bad judge for Carter Page. That'd be my biggest concern. Not getting
interesting thing. What you said was that, first of all, that Wood should take it as a compliment to some extent, because
yeah.
typically you don't want to boot out an incompetent attorney. You want to keep him in. So
Right. Absolutely.
Wood will take it as a compliment, and it might very well be one, but they should be paying attention to how this judge is going to rule on the merits against Carter, because this is a broader indication of a problem. I guess the question then would be, what are the chances of a recusal if they allege the things that you're alleging, that, this judge is taking judicial notice of issues that have nothing to do with this case? Is that a clear enough bias?
I would be aggressive. I would be, smart, don't be careless. But I would be aggressive if it was me. I've had to be when I've been in this position. They've never had good grounds to ever even try it, and I just educate the judge on the law, and the judge judges always recognize that and back down. But and you have to present the argument in such a way that the judge feels that the law better than anyone else in the room does, and that's important to communicate that. And that's what I'm saying. You need someone like that. Because he is, like I said, I've never known Wood to win a jury trial on defamation in his life, to my knowledge. So I think Wood's a good PR lawyer, not always the best courtroom lawyer. And like I've been open about the fact that I think he's lost his mind over the last year. That was before the Q stuff. That was when your own partner sue you for saying you're a crazy fraud, that's probably a sign. But I think it's a bigger warning sign for Page. Maybe he can use this as a way to get a new judge, but otherwise he's facing an uphill battle. And in a lot of Page's cases, he also has John Pierce as a lawyer. So he's got a very good lawyer that brought the DC case that's the lead lawyer. But John Pierce on your file is not a good idea. And honestly, Lin Wood is probably not a good idea at this point because of what's coming down the pipeline. And the same is true of, unfortunately, with Sidney Powell, which may be a bridge to the special counsel conversation.
Yep, let's do it. And I'll just end with my thought on this is that I would always be of the opinion to forgive the judge for the lawyer for what might otherwise be unforgivable mistakes. Reading through the proceedings, there were unforgivable mistakes in those proceedings, but you're drafting in 24/7 in different states, and you have people doing work for you.
Clearly, Wood was just a co-signer. I mean, Wood is not leading any of that litigation. I don't think he's appeared in any of it. He's doing his own case where he did the plenty of perjury mistakes, which he admitted this week. But and again, it's the problem with people that are sort of in over their skis. But no, I agree that to date the things even he cited were mostly procedural errors on a rush timetable. Very few of them. I mean, the bigger problem is they have witnesses that are not being honest or forthcoming. Affidavit. Yeah, I can tell you the story that's coming. The story that's coming is they're going to accuse Powell or Wood or both of writing the affidavits for the witness, and that the witness and when you have unreliable witnesses, watch some of these witnesses turn around and point the finger back at Wood or Powell. So I mean, one witness kind of already did that. So that's why you have to be, you're about to jump in. If you really believe there's a bunch of foreign governments and spooks who stole the election, that's even more reason to be extremely careful with what information you're vetting and what you're going to present, because that means you're up against, if you really believe that, you have to behave very differently than they have unfortunately behaved. And I think but unless you believe the Q thought that really there's a bunch of allies, they're just waiting to have an excuse to unleash the military and everything is, if you really dig into the Q fantasy world and you're one of the players in the Q fantasy world, you think you're playing into the script, the final script, not realizing that final script isn't the script at all. It's a setup from day one.
Okay, and that's a good segue. Now, actually, I'll just bring this one up. Dapper Dave says the judge delayed the Kevin Kleinsmith case. Any chance Biden pardons or grants clemency? Any other people that might be charged by Durham? Well, I get first things first. I mean, if he's going to get sentenced to 6 months, if Biden takes office in January, he can grant clemency or pardon then. So I don't think the delay is going to add much, but it's an obvious possibility.
Oh yeah, and if Durham does anything, I'll believe it when I see it. That's what I've been saying about Durham a long time. Durham covered up CIA, illegal torture and illegal spying, so I have no confidence in him doing anything. He couldn't even get a report out before Election Day. So come on, at this point, the people who still believe in him or Barr, I can't see that. Both of these guys turned out. I mean, Barr was definitely a traitor to Trump. Zero doubt about that at this point. I mean, Barr probably did more to help Biden win than any person in the entire country, more than Dominion, that's for sure. By sitting on the Spygate scandal, then keeping hidden the Biden criminal investigation, even while Trump was being impeached, knowing he was being impeached on a false grounds and keeping his mouth shut about it, and then lying about saying there was no fraud in the election that he had failed to meaningfully investigate.
Someone told me they respect Barr's integrity in that he kept quiet on the Hunter Biden. I was like, he kept quiet on that while he made public statements about a non-investigation of issues. I said, you call that integrity. I'm not calling it anything else. It's just these are also mutually incompatible actions as far as integrity goes.